Hello, everybody. It is 1:43 p.m. Central Time on the 10th of January 2021. It is Sunday here in the United States. Hope you're doing well. First of all, haven't done an update in like several days. How do I sound for everybody on Twitch watching live? If you're watching on YouTube, you're watching a premiere recorded event that was live, and you know what? My cat just got up, so before we even do that, let's just go ahead and let her out of the room, because I see this coming a mile away. Out you go. Out ye go. My feline friend. Okay, Duchess, thank you. Alright, sorry about that, guys. What a way to start an update, but, you know, hey, we're back to normal, I guess. Oh, man. Okay, so we're here to talk about seismic events. And again, I haven't done an update in a few days. We do sound good. Everybody on Twitch says we sound good. Let's go ahead and turn on a display capture. And we're just going to start over here for the new people who are new viewers. The earthquakes that are raised high off the globe are deep down into the earth. The deeper the earthquakes, we pay attention to those because usually next to the deep earthquakes and spreading out and away from the deep earthquakes, we see shallower, larger earthquakes. For instance, we have deep 4s and deep 5s, and the deep 4s and 5s, the clusters of them raised high off the globe, are surrounded by shallow 6s. And let me show you the 6s, for instance. So we have a series of 6.0 range earthquakes that have struck across both sides of the Pacific in the past several days. There might be normally maybe 2 or 3 a week per the USGS. Sometimes we have weeks where we don't have any. In this case, we have a week where we have several, and this is just the past 72 hours. Here's the whole week. Let me get the whole 7-day time period turned on here. There we go. So we have one up here in Alaska, one over here in Indonesia, several surrounding Fiji and Tonga. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 there. One here in Argentina last night into this morning, and technically a 5.9. We'll call that a 6 as well, right in the middle of our letter X. X marks the spot. So, I mean, we're talking double the normal amount of 6.0 range earthquakes in the past 7 days. So, getting back down to what's happened in the past 2 days, series of deep 4s and deep 5s, surrounded by shallow 6s, going all the way down into the Kermadec Islands north of New Zealand, and going as far west, like I said, all the way over here into Indonesia 2 days ago. Since last night, the new deep 5s you can still see raised high off the globe here indicate that something else is getting ready to happen. Bigger than what currently is on the board. So if we're currently at 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, I would think we're going to go the next step higher. And that then takes us into the upper 6, low 7 level. I'll put it at upper 6 right now. But don't be shocked if it comes in just a little bit bigger. The spots we watch are pretty simple to figure out. We watch between our current sets of earthquakes. And in this case, we have a big set of 6s and deep 5s on one side of the West Pacific, and on the other side a set of deep 5s. So I will watch between the two, and that puts us right down in the middle of Papua New Guinea, right at the tip of the arrow. Now you can also, if you were keeping track in the past few days, we talked about just in chat, when I was in chat room, I wasn't really doing live updates. We were talking about watching Philippines, Taiwan, and Guam. Well, just north of the Philippines, right here off the coast of Taiwan, a 4.8 earthquake and a 4.7 struck. And over on the other side of the plate boundary, over next to Guam, here is the tiny island of Guam right here. On the other side, same-sized earthquake, 4.8. Now, why does that matter? Energy travels up and around both sides of this plate boundary. Let me get that open here. Open the plate boundary map. There we are. So across the West Pacific, we have our red lines that we pay attention to, which are the plate boundaries. You see how it goes up to Taiwan and around Guam, but both meet back up on the coast of Japan. That's exactly what's happened with the seismic activity. Both sides meets back up right up here in Japan, and we have a deep earthquake below the Sea of Japan, west of Hokkaido. Now, before I get into Alaska, we have to jump from here
all the way south. South of Australia moving. And this is somewhat more rare. We only see activity like this when there's major spread of deep earthquakes that are taking place. This is the Indo-Australian plate boundary that goes down around past Antarctica. I'll show it to you this way. Going around, back down, and back over. It goes back up all the way into India and Indo-Australian. Okay, so around the outside edge of the Indo-Australian plate, we're starting to get a little bit of movement. And not a little bit, I mean, it's a fair amount. It's all in the mid-range 4 level, but it's a fair amount spreading out a huge distance, thousands of miles. We can trace this back here to our deep earthquakes, and the deep earthquakes are the spot that's pushing up on the underside of the plate. Going across China, 2 days ago, we did have activity, 5s marked in pink, but since then, nothing. China, Russia, all of it, quiet. No seismic activity reported by our agencies. I don't know about theirs, but our agencies are saying nothing. But then we get right here to the border, right at the tip of the arrow, exactly in the middle of the tip of the arrow. Same-sized earthquake that came out of the West Pacific, 4.5. Now we go across Iran, and again we have nothing. Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan. Just quiet. 2 days, nothing. Well, a day and a half, nothing. We go back 2 days, 3 days, we have a little bit of activity reported in China, like I said, and marked in pink, a 5. Well, that 5 in China from 2 days ago that you just saw marked in pink right there is going to be going over, the energy is going to transfer over into Iran and over into Europe. So Iran should get hit on the plate boundary right in the middle of this giant open area, and it should be struck by a 5-ish type earthquake. And let me show it to you on the plate boundary here. Here's Iran. Our 5 activity back here in China, indicating energy is coming out and across, and the same sized energy should travel all the way over to Europe, but in between the two, right in the middle, that fulcrum point in between the two should be struck. Now we get over into Europe and we have a new deep earthquake down below the Tyrrhenian Sea, a 3.2. It's down at 220 kilometers deep. Anytime we see deep activity down below Europe, we have to warn the people in Italy. Let me show you why and where. Here's Italy. Here's the plate boundary. We zoom down here on the Tyrrhenian Sea. We have a deep earthquake somewhere right here north of Sicily. There's several volcanoes there, including the volcano called Volcano. But a deep earthquake here means there's leveraging pressure coming up on the underside of the plate boundary going across. So that means everywhere back behind the deep earthquake, and that's the Adriatic Sea, Greece, Central Europe, Adriatic Sea, and Greece are already moving. Even back down to the Aegean Sea, which is having 4.0 range activity next to Crete again. So, what do we expect? See where all the rings overlap? If you live in Croatia, first of all, let's just talk about this. Last night, yesterday, a new 4.8 earthquake struck. So that somewhat fulfills what we were looking for to happen. Another near 5 to strike. And the spot, though, has not shifted out of Croatia. I mean, we're talking about a matter of 100 miles between these areas. So from the area up in Croatia down to the Bosnia border, it's like 75 or 100 miles. So if I'm looking at in the middle of Bosnia, and it still strikes up across the border in Croatia, it's still in the same region. I try to get it down to 200-mile areas for my forecasting. So we're talking about very minute areas. And you see where all the rings overlap. They overlap pretty much starting at the Croatia border and go down right here to Montenegro into Albania. So a new 4.8 struck last night. New 4.3 and swarm outbreak down next to Crete. Let's go back to the red line map. Here's Crete. Look where it is. Look at the red line. Look where the red line goes. Dead ends up into the Swiss Alps. On the inside interior portion is where all our movement's happening, for the most part. But then we get a deep earthquake here, down below the plate boundary, putting up pressure on the underside of the plate, and it goes right over into the plate boundary, and we get new larger activity. So with a deep earthquake like this, down at 220 kilometers deep, I would expect up to 1 magnitude larger earthquake to strike on that, 4.2 to 4.3. Well, guess what happened? A 4.2 to 4.3 happened yesterday, but this new 3.2 means a new 4.2 to 4.3 or greater will come in on top of the 5 that's coming in. You got to remember that this is like a flowing river. And we have a 5 back here that's going to be rolling in across Iran. We have a deep earthquake here below the plate boundary in Italy. And in between the two is where the stress is going to be coming together. And that puts us back here by the end of the 15th. Well, 7 days from now, 6 days from now. By the end of the 16th, that we would have to watch for a potential combination of the two. We watch for 7 to 10 days on deep earthquakes. So there's several things going on. One, there should be a new 5.0 type earthquake that strikes here next to Bosnia. Again, look how close our borders are. That's still incoming. You had a 4.8 yesterday. That was from the previous push that came in. You have a deep earthquake down below Italy, and you have a new 5 back over here to the east. Those are going to combine and come rolling in back down here, down into the Aegean Sea, 7 days from now or less. And that's going to create activity as well, up above, well, in this case, it's going to be up above 5.0, down in the Aegean Sea. So we have a few forecasts now that are coming together. I would finally expect activity to ultimately go out of Europe and go back to the mid-Atlantic ridge, and it seems to be doing that now. In the last several hours, a 3.1 on our letter X over at the Azores, and a 3.1 up on our letter X at Iceland, indicating that energy is flowing out. Now, what happened to the UK? That was my strikeout this past week. Holland even got hit, but UK didn't. Or maybe they just didn't report it. Brits. So, no activity in all of the UK. Wait, hold on. I take that back. A week ago, there was an earthquake up here in between Ireland and Scotland. But other than that, there hasn't been much earthquake activity at all. So that would be my strikeout for Europe last week. But Holland, Poland, Romania, Croatia twice, all got hit as expected. Even Italy got hit last week. Jumping back across the Pacific, indicating that something's coming across, a 5.3 to 5.5 earthquake struck on the fracture zone. And the fracture zone, it looks almost like a superhighway, a fracture that connects all the way back across over to our red arrows. Now, the red arrows just give us a direction we watch for energy to spread when our deep earthquakes come hammering in on the underside of the plate. Now, I imagine the deep earthquakes to be like this, coming up out of the magma, that there's nowhere for the wave to focus in down into the fluid of the magma, and it gets focused in at a central point, a singularity, and comes spiking in on the underside of the plate, causing an earthquake, quote-unquote, down below the plates where there's no earth. It's instead magma. It's happening in the magma, in the asthenosphere down below in the magma. This is happening coming up out of the magma. But there's no open space between the magma and the plate. In other words, it hammers in and goes up into the plate. But then a spread, I think, is happening, which forms what's called a standing wave. So you get several of these hammering actions that come in on the underside of the plate. Then I think what happens is it spreads out and away. And when that goes out and away, we get multiple earthquakes dropping off as a equal distance spacing, just like a standing wave does. And so we get the same sized earthquake spreading out two sides of the plate, and that's exactly what's happening. We get 5.5, and at the tail end, a 6.1 to 6.2. Now, you'll notice there is a fracture zone, a stair-step break in the plate that goes all the way down to South America, and it comes back to here. And then to the north, you'll see there's a line, or maybe you won't, but you might have to look full screen. There's a line that goes north, connects up like a stair-step, all the way up into Mexico. Well, look at this. Look at the plate boundary map again one more time. There it is. The plate boundary goes all the way up into Mexico, comes down and goes all the way down to South Chile. It connects across, and there's a few breaks going across over into northern South America. The red line sticks across the coast of South America. And you'll notice the USGS has nothing across the middle Pacific. But we have two giant arrows going across the middle of the Pacific. And the reason we have two giant arrows going across is because when this hammering action spreads out, first it hammers in with the deep earthquakes. Show that to you one more time. Then it spreads out in a standing wave, spreads out in all directions, and seeks out the weak points in the plate. Now let's get to those weak points. The east and west facing fracture zones, they almost look like rungs on a ladder, and they go all the way up towards Alaska and come all the way down here right to, well, just north of where the earthquake is. But there's something where this stops, where these equal spaced fracture zones go down to about here and then pretty much stop. Then they start taking a different direction down towards the south. And the spacing on these goes from equal spacing down to halving each other, and then having the halves into quarters, having the quarters into eighths, having the eighths into sixteenths, and it goes down to a very fine point of fractures. So I want to show you something, though, about these fracture zones, if you're a new viewer, that everything east of the middle of the Pacific makes the fracture zone. Another way to look at this, these fracture zones go back to something. They all go back to this line of undersea mounts that cuts the Pacific in half. It makes like a giant letter C shape going from up at Kamchatka, Russia, back down and across, branching off to the Hawaiian island chain. But going further down south from the Hawaiian island chain, you can follow it past Tamu Massif, the largest volcano on the planet, I think. And it goes down and around and makes a crescent shape or a letter C shape into South Peru. So everywhere east of this undersea mount line are the equal distance spaced fracture zones. There's only one spot where the fracture zones come across this line of undersea mount volcanoes, and that's right here at the American Samoas. There's 2 points right here and here. You could arguably say there's maybe a third right here, but right here is where the 2 points come out and go over into the spot that's rising. There's a leverage. Think of lever arms being leveraged in on the underside of the plate with those deep earthquakes. And that's where all of our rising volcanoes are. Thousands of Pacific islands made from volcanoes rising up. And then we get over here and everything is fractured out and spreading as this is trying to equalize. Mother Nature is trying to spread that out equally across the mass. And the undersea mount chain of volcanoes that starts up here at Kamchatka goes down, branches off to Hawaii, keeps going down, starts to bend over to the east, and connects into Peru. So, what does that have to do with this? Look at the fracture zone to the south. This is where the preference begins to the south. So the preference for the fracture zones begins to the south here, and the connecting point between the two is this jagged line, stair-step line, that goes all the way up to Mexico, which is the break in the plate boundary. So we got our earthquake coming across this way, meaning it's going to go down to here. And then carry on. Momentum down to the tip of the South Sandwich Islands again, and that's a normal progression. Now, in between, down here, and up here, we have the middle. And the middle has come under pressure with new deep earthquakes in the last several days, and now a 6.1 striking in Argentina. From what I also understand, Argentina just had some kind of tornado or something. It was rare. Just saw a video on that. But 6.1 earthquake here, and this 6.1 is technically a deep earthquake. It's 217 kilometers deep. So now wait a second. If I just showed you the deep earthquakes over in the West Pacific, and they're 4s and 5s, and spreading out from those deep 4s and 5s, we have 6s, right? That's what I said at the start of the update. But now we have a deep 6. So that means we should have shallower, larger earthquakes spread out from this deep 6 in South America, going down to South Sandwich Islands, and going as far north as the south tip of Central America, which I'll show you on the plate boundary again. Going up around this way, northern South America, and down around this way, down to South Sandwich Islands. How big? The potential could go up to 7.0. I would lean, let's go zoom in really close to this to show you where it struck. I would lean towards southern South America as a spot to watch for that shallower, larger earthquake to develop. So in other words, Chile, Argentina. But look where the earthquake struck. The deep earthquake struck right on our letter D, which stands for deep earthquakes. It's a forecast point where we watch for deep earthquakes to take place. Now spreading from there, look, there's a set of small arrows that go down the Andes Mountains and carry on and go all the way down and goes to Travel Underneath Point down to South Sandwich Islands. But you also notice that this is the split point, where our other small arrows go up the Andes Mountains, around and up to the north and over to the East Caribbean. So, we're going to see a spread virtually equally in two directions across South America, dropping off two noteworthy sized earthquakes, most likely less than 7.0, but two noteworthy 6s, for instance. And the spots to watch are where our rings overlap for our current sets of earthquakes. And our current sets of earthquakes in South America puts the rings all overlapping here on the coast of Chile. North Chile. So down to the south, but North Chile. Additionally, up to the north, you see where our sets of rings overlap here in South Peru. So South Central Peru, Central Peru. So Central Peru and Central Chile, both at risk for significant 6.0 range activity, larger than 6.1 most likely. Third spot to watch, Central America. So it's not like we're just watching both sides of the deep earthquake. You have to remember the wave tank, that the wave spreads out, and we get equal-sized earthquakes spreading out across a whole mass. So if we get a deep earthquake in the middle, and then two similar larger earthquakes on either side slightly, then we should see two smaller earthquakes, but still significant size, so upper 5s, let's say, at the either perimeter going out to the north and further down to the south. So let's put it for upper 5s to strike down at the South Sandwich Islands, and upper 5s to strike up here next to Panama, Costa Rica. I have to warn everybody from El Salvador all the way down to Panama, though, or all the way down to Colombia. So it's more than 200 miles that I'm warning here, but I'm looking right in the middle. So right there for upper 5. Now I have to talk about the Eastern Caribbean again. The Eastern Caribbean still on watch at Mount Pelee and La Soufriere volcano. Soufriere. La Soufriere. Ah oui? I can't say it, but it's a volcano over here in the Eastern Caribbean. And they try to say it was a coincidence that both volcanoes came back to life after decades being quiet, like 30 or 40 years, both volcanoes quiet, and then all of a sudden, both volcanoes are back, and they try to say that it's just coincidence. We know it's not coincidence. But what's causing it? What's causing the sudden rise in volcanic activity over here in the Eastern Caribbean? Again, Pelee and La Soufriere over here on the east side. And I'll just say it, eastern edge of the plate boundary. Magma is coming up on the underside, coming up through the plate boundary, reaching up into the feeders for these volcanoes on the eastern edge. But what's causing that? We go back over here, and Tellico volcano came back alive this past week, or 2 weeks ago now. And that was a change. And that's over here on the western side. So on the eastern side and the western side, two new volcanic activity events, or really 3 if you want to count. I would count the volcanoes on the eastern side at Pelee and La Soufriere together as one event. But still, 2 different areas moving on both sides. Where's that coming from? Well, the pressure. The pressure is coming from over to the west, Mexico, Nazca Plate, going all the way across back over to where our deep earthquakes are happening. Now, I'd like to go check the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center, but, what? The hell happened here? It doesn't matter what browser you open it on, guys. It's screwed. No more Volcanic Ash Advisory Center combinations, I guess. Somebody else is going to have to do it. Don't make me do it. You make me do it, man. I've already got my plate full. I need to get spectros going. I need to get my own volcanic ash advisory center. I just need my own geophysical survey. DSGS, Dutch Sense Geological Survey. That's what we need. All right, now, we'll crowdfund it. We don't need no taxpayer funding. Nope. Hey, y'all, we don't need no stinking taxpayer dollars. All right. United States. Speaking of taxpayer dollars, United States. Hey, let's get a sip of the coffee. Okay. Alaska. First of all, let's zoom in and show you a line of fours all about the same size. 4.6, 4.5, 4.3, 4.3. Another way to look at it is a 4.6 and a 4.3, and a 4.5 and a 4.3, both right next to each other. Two of the same size quakes. Remember the wave tank again. Same sized earthquakes, spreading out across a region. And in this case, the region, let's go back to the USGS map here. There it is. That going across the North Pacific, we have the red line again, the plate boundary. Same sized earthquake spreading out across the Aleutians. We go back to the start of the week, and that's when our 6 hit up here, marked in red. 6 point something, 6.1. Oh, that's something else I'd like to point out. All the 6s are like 6.1s. 6.1, 6.1, 6.1, 6.1, a few 6.2s. But that enough right there to let you know it's the same sized activity spreading out all the way around the Pacific Plate, from Fiji all the way to Alaska, all the way to South America, all in the 6.1 range. But getting back to Alaska, it's the same sized activity going into the Aleutians, and we have our warning, which doesn't expire for another 2 days. Our warning going, oh, actually I need to turn down the rings. Look at that. Our warning is going between Kodiak and all the way up here to Anchorage. And really, I think it'll come in between the two, but I have to warn everybody in Anchorage just in case, and it should be in the 5 range. Hasn't hit yet. We're going probably up to the last day on this, because I haven't done an update in 5 days. So we still have 2 more days to go in this. But it should hit. What else happened? Oh, Hawaii. Aloha. Look at this. So a series of 2s and a 3.1, the biggest of the bunch pretty much. Well, actually 2 3.1s, striking at Mauna Loa. And people are asking me, what do you think's going on? You have a ring of earthquakes around Mauna Loa. Well, guys, it could be that there's a surge going on greater than what Kilauea can handle, and Kilauea is just a sign of the times on what's going on in Hawaii, and 2 3s plus a bunch of 2s going around the volcano. How could I put this? Do you remember where we were a month ago? If you're a viewer of mine, you do. If you aren't, well, let me explain. A month ago, there were a ring or maybe a triangle of earthquakes around the Middle East Rift Zone. Going all the way around the island overall, there was another triangle of volcanoes, or a ring of volcanoes, a ring of earthquakes at the volcanoes, I mean. So Mauna Kea, Mauna Loa, Kilauea, Loihi, earthquakes all the way around it. Well, it's doing that again. You can see that. The only thing missing is a few earthquakes out here in the ocean to connect it all the way back around. Oh, wow. Hold on. When did that hit? Hold on. That just hit. $15 minutes ago. Oh, my God. Okay. 20 minutes ago, something like that. All right. Hey, it starts freaking me out when that starts happening. I need the Twilight Zone music, please. Okay, I get a copyright for that. So the same thing's going on now. A ring of earthquakes around the Middle East Rift Zone, a few spreading out up to the north, but the change that I'm seeing here is that now there's a ring of earthquakes around Mauna Loa, like a micro ring, a ring of 3s and 2s. So, or a ring within a ring. So that to me says something is going on over at Mauna Loa, seismically speaking. And I said last time, before Kilauea erupted, I was going to trust the professionals. Oh, man, famous last words. God, still go back and listen to that. Oh, I just want to smack myself for saying it. I'm like, well, The professionals have their tilt meters and their sulfur dioxide meters. They'll be able to detect harmonic tremors or something. And then what happened? Boom! The next morning, the tilt meters didn't show crap. The sulfur dioxide meters, they didn't report to us or whatever. So I'm not going to trust those. I said, when that happened, I would trust the seismic going forward. So what's going on? On both sides of Mauna Loa, let's get an angle view on this. Oh, wait. Hold on. There we are. Now we got a good angled view on it. On both sides of Mauna Loa, 3.1 and 3.1. A ring of earthquakes going down, around, and back up through Kilauea. The only thing missing is a set of earthquakes right out here to complete the ring fully. But we have Loihi, Mauna Loa, Kilauea, Mauna Kea. But the earthquake's going around this, and now going around this. This is the largest shield volcano, the largest volcano on the surface of the planet. There's bigger down below sea level, but on the surface, that's the biggest. And that is possible that it could erupt. I'm not saying it's going to. I'm saying it's possible. The seismic is starting to take place around there. It would take a lot more, I think, seismic for us to see anything happen. But I think we need to keep an eye on it. When one just erupted, there's past instances of Mauna Loa coming alive at the same time or around the same time as Kilauea. It's happened before. And Mauna Loa last erupted, what was it, like 1982? Was it 82 or 84? It's like the 80s, the early 80s, I think, is when the last time Mauna Loa erupted. And there was something going on at Kilauea at the same time, back then. Or around the same time, like maybe a few months before or after. But either way, we have a ring within a ring. It's something to pay attention to. Don't dismiss it. The lava lake there is still filling, by the way. So that lava lake is not done, and there's a pumice raft floating in the middle of it, 7 acres in size. Huh. All right, continental United States. A lot of people get annoyed. We have to get to the continental United States last every time, but that's the way the force flows. It starts with our deep earthquakes, it spreads out across over to the West Pacific, out over to Europe, and ultimately out to the Mid-Atlantic Ridge that way first. Second way the force flows is straight across, going over to South America. Path of least resistance each way, guys. Ultimately, for the United States, the energy has to go up, around, over, and come back down in from the northwest, usually. So, we're the last in the update. We're the last in the flow. And our seismic activity reflects that. We have buffers between the rising zone and where our coast is. It builds over a long period of time and breaks into a large earthquake. Now, United States. So, Pacific Northwest. I guess we could just start up here in the PNW. Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Northwest California. Go look at our major earthquake activity. Oh wait, there is none? No significant earthquake activity at all? Okay, hold on. Let's turn on our last day's worth of earthquakes. This is just the last 24 hours. And we're going to look at everything 0.0 and greater, just to make sure we've got everything. Let me hit refresh just to make sure. Wow, it's low. The number of earthquakes in the Northwest, 1. I mean, it makes my job easy. It really does. It just cuts off 15, 20 minutes of us looking up earthquakes. But let's put the coordinates in. We're at an 8.8 kilometer depth down below Ashford, Washington, 14 kilometers. So we're 14 kilometers away from Ashford, 8.8 kilometers down in the crust. But there's something here. We're on the foot or flank of Mount Rainier. And Mount Rainier is a stratovolcano everybody knows about. There's the crater for it. You can see it from downtown Seattle. It's not going to erupt, at least not now. Seismic activity only, 0.6. Nothing. But there's something that has started up here in the Northwest that's a change from where we were, let's say, last week. Let's show you. 482 new reported tremors as of yesterday in southwest Oregon. Also in southwest Washington, just a handful, but a predominance, what do you want to think? About 470 of them are down in southwest Oregon. This is corresponding to the southern arm of the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. You can see the jagged edges of the Juan de Fuca out here in the Pacific, and this points in like an arrow to the spot that's shifting. This is the southern arm of it, going down to the Gorda Escarpment and the Mendocino Ridge that then bends down into the San Andreas. And I can show it to you on the USGS map here, a little bit better. Going in off the San Andreas all the way down to Southern California, and here's the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. So tremors now on land, and I want you to think of these tremors really small vibrations as the plate is shifting. They're not really earthquakes, even though they do have magnitudes assigned to them. It's not breaking in the plate is vibrating as it's shifting. This is down below this. Or you could say, this is up above this. And so this pushes in and up into North America, and we go from several thousand feet just below sea level here, not counting how many thousands of feet we go down into the crust down below there. But then we come up and go up into the plate, up above sea level, and we're getting our earthquake somewhere in between the two, or our tremors in between the two. So this is vibrating as this is pushing in. But there's no earthquakes. Instead, we go over here into the middle of the tip of the arrow, and we have a series of small earthquakes in Idaho again. Now, these small earthquakes are all 2s right now. I would expect a big increase in the next few days again. And I say again because technically we did go up in the amount of activity, and the magnitudes only went up, I think, to, let's see here, hold on. Only went up to near 4.0, 3.9. Sorry, I had to go look at that. So, 4.0 instead of 5.0. That's within the magnitude, I would think, but that's still low, 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 low. In the next few days, I think we're going to go up, up, up a whole magnitude. So we should go up into the 5.0 range, maybe even bigger. And we'll figure out where in just a moment, but first of all, let's look at the activity 24 hours swarm-wise. Because there's 3 distinct spots, or maybe even 4, where there are swarms taking place. 3.2, a lone earthquake, coming in on the San Andreas right up here to the north, next to Eureka. Let's show you on the plate boundary map again. Here, 3.2. Remember that, because all the way down the red line, down to the south, look what we have. Another 3.2. 2 3.2s, one at the north end, one at the south end. Connected in between these, don't know how to say it, stacks of earthquakes at volcanoes. The stack here at geysers. The stack here over to the east at Monte Cristo Hills Volcanic Buttes. And, oh, by the way, guess how large we went there? 3.9. Down to the south, the stack of earthquakes here, China Lake, right next to Volcano Peak, and then the 3.2 and stack of earthquakes down in Southern California. It's all the same sized activity at multiple volcanoes. I can prove that to you, that you don't have to take my word for it. We'll put the coordinates in. Depending on which earthquake you click on here, it'll tell you whether it's at Cobb, Anderson, or the Geysers, or Geyserville. Does it really matter? The name tells you what's there. So if you don't know, if you just pull the coordinate, it says Cobb, you might think something just innocent about it. You might think there's nothing there. But if it says the geysers, you might go look it up. And if you go look it up, what you're going to find are these. Drill points. Drill points that go down a few hundred to a few thousand feet, where they inject sewage, human sewage, like from your house. That sewage goes down into those pipes that goes down a few hundred to a few thousand feet, and it gets steamed off by the heat coming up from the Clear Lake volcanic field magma down below. And to top it all off, they take that steam, collect it, and take it to the turbines, where they use it to power the area for electric. That's where the stack of earthquakes is here. So 3.2 coming in, going straight down to the volcano itself. One more time on the USGS map here, it's so obvious. 3.2 coming in, and that volcano I just showed you is right here, where all these broken faults come together. The Macama Fault going down to the Hayward, going through the Bay Area. And that's what the earthquakes do. Let me get a sip of my coffee. So, the earthquakes go down in the same direction, following the creeping section of the San Andreas. And look, 1.6, 1.6 in between them. 1.7, 1.9, and a 2.5. The bigger earthquakes in between the two 1.6s, like bookends 1.6s, and then in between two larger books. But the earthquakes go down the creeping section, and they stop right here at a place called Pinnacles, California. And let me show you what's there at Pinnacles. Going down across the San Andreas, we jump off the San Andreas at Pinnacles. Here, well, first of all, let me back it out. Coming down to here, and we jump off right about at this location, San Benito. And if you need me to pull the coordinates on this, I can. I mean, let's do it. Because there'll always be somebody who questions. Somebody who doesn't believe, and they, you can tell them. I don't want to leave anything up for belief. I just want to show you everything, and you guys can just understand what's going on. There's the earthquake epicenter. And here's our branch off that goes over to the east. You can see it in the mountains itself. And at the end, we have a bunch of oil and gas wells. And you can see the jacks and the pumps and the tanks and the pipeline connecting between them. And they're all across this little valley here. Well, that actually right there is for cattle. So they're doing cattle there too. And then over here, we got the fracking. A little bit of fracking going on. Okay, jumping off the San Andreas though. That's the point. That's what I'm getting at here. So the earthquakes go down the San Andreas and then jump off and go over into the valley. And that's where we are right now, at the jump off point. And that's where we stop. The earthquakes stop there, along the San Andreas. Now, along the California-Nevada border, we have the clusters of earthquakes over here at Monte Cristo Hills Volcanic Buttes going up to 4.0, basically. I believe that's as high as we went. Hold on. Yeah, 3.9. And the cluster of earthquakes down on the California side of the border are at Long Valley Supervolcano. It's a caldera. And then right across the border, on this side, right next to the big cluster, there's a little triangle of earthquakes. That's next to Aurora Bodie Crater. I can show you all the locations. I'll just pull the earthquake in the middle at Aurora Bodie. And then we'll go down to the south to the supervolcano, and we'll go over to the east to Monte Cristo. Monte Cristo got hit with a 6.5 this past year in 2020. The biggest earthquake there in years. So here's the earthquake epicenter. And right here, Aurora Bodie Crater. And next to Aurora Bodie Crater, Mud Springs Volcanic Butte, which is really cool looking. It's a few hundred feet high off the ground. Look at that. That lava flow. And it went down and buckled out. I guess it got more viscous as it cooled down. But you can trace it back to its spatter cone. Pretty cool. Earthquake right next to it on the edge of Aurora Bodie. And that's the earthquake I just pulled right in the middle that's marked in blue. We can go due south from there down into this cluster, and that's right in the middle of the caldera of the supervolcano, Long Valley Caldera. It's right on the south side, right down in here, cluster of quakes. And if you don't know about Long Valley, it has 1,000 cubic kilometers of melt down below. It's lined with other volcanoes like Mammoth Mountain on the western side. And then to top it all off, humans drilled into it before they knew it was a supervolcano. Before they did those earth-penetrating tomography measurements. And they're getting steam to turn those turbines there. So we go from here up to the border at Aurora Bodie at the border, and then over to the east, Monte Cristo Hills Volcanic Center. That's the path all the earthquakes take. Now we zoom in even closer. Look at the line of quakes across Monte Cristo. It's going west to east, basically meeting up with the back end of our arrow. And right here, right here at the back end of the arrow, in between the earthquakes and the arrow, let me show you. This. A giant solar generating power plant. It is what it is. Down to the south, we have a diagonal line of quakes going through China Lake, but they start at a volcanic field and they end at a volcanic field. The only change here is now the number of earthquakes is just next to nothing for 24 hours. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 earthquakes in 24 hours. 8, guys, 8. Nothing. Same with up to the north, really. The supervolcano, 4. We've had thousands at these volcanoes before. So I'm going to say it, the flow has pretty much been cut off. Something's building right now. And it's building most likely, well, we'll get into that, like I said, in a minute. First, I want to run down the quakes. Line of earthquakes starting at a volcano, ending at a volcano. Let's prove that to the new viewers. Kozo Junction, which is really called Kozo Volcanic Field. Why wouldn't the USGS just label it as such? Kozo Volcanic Field. That would tell everybody what's there. And then furthermore, if they showed you what's just a mile or two south of here, right here, all of these. Devil's Kitchen geothermal pumping operation, where they drilled into the volcano again to get steam to turn the turbines. And this is the volcanic field. These are rising lava domes. These are like the rising lava domes over at La Soufrière. But they just, again, are quiet right now, but they rose the same way. Look at these. You know the one in La Soufrière, right? Look how big this one is. These are all across Kozo, guys. And they've even drilled into a couple of them to get steam. Here's the other volcanoes going down across. That's Volcano Peak and its lava flows. That's China Lake. And like I said, we dead end into another set of volcanoes to the south. All these ones down here go down to the Lava Mountains. Searles Valley is the location it's triangulated from, but let's just put the coordinates in and show you. Go right next to the Lava Mountains. There we are. So Lava Mountains Volcanic Field. Feel free to pause it and read it if you need to. There's not much to read. Pliocene. Pliocene to Pleistocene. Ancient. But yet, the remnants of the old volcanic field are all around. Little fissures and spatter cones. I'm thinking they probably are getting a fair amount of precious materials out of the ground out there. Okay, so we can skip over the whole Mojave, the whole valley. Man, I don't like this. I don't like it. I don't like to see small earthquake activity when the rest of the planet is all getting hit by 6s and we're in the middle of a deep earthquake event. That to me says West Coast is building. Southern California. This is where our other stack is. So we have our final stack of earthquakes down in Southern California. The big stack here is at a volcano in Southern California. Salton Sea, Salton Buttes. But there's something else there in Southern California. The red line, the thick red line. That thick red line is the San Andreas. Or in this case, it changes into the Imperial Fault right here, but same name, or same fault, different name. The red line, like I said, when I started this update, we have a 3.2 on the north side, and all the way down here we have a 3.2 in Swarm on the south side, like bookends holding in California. In between them, our biggest of the bunch at the supervolcano in Monte Cristo Hills at the Nevada border. Do you want to see the volcano in Southern California? Do I need to show it to you, I guess is the question. There's going to be some new person who doesn't understand or believe that there's a volcano in Southern California even. I used to have people tell me that Salton Sea wasn't a volcano till the Smithsonian updated their place mark. We would know if there's a volcano in Southern California, said the skeptics and deniers back in 2011. It's an ancient volcano. Once I found it, it's an ancient volcano. It'll never show activity. Then sulfur smells and sulfur dioxide warning levels came out of the volcano, and they upgraded the warning level. Well, look where we are now. Hey, we've got another set of geothermal turbines and a spot where they drilled in to get steam, and that's not just one spot. All of these are drill points. And here's the volcano, Salton Buttes. That's where the other swarm is, down to the south. So you're probably curious about the other line of earthquakes that goes down to the Mexico border and west of Salton Sea. Goes back up into the LA Basin, doesn't it? So what's up in the LA Basin? What's down at the California-Mexico border where the new earthquake just struck at 2026 UTC within the past 8 minutes? No, yeah, 8 minutes, 6 to 8 minutes that earthquake just struck. As I'm talking about the location, that freaks me out. That does every time. It freaks me out, man. That freaks me out. Makes me think, I don't know, all kinds of stuff. So there's something here. Most people don't know what they're looking at. So you see a bunch of farm fields, of course. But I'll zoom in right here, and you'll see those farm fields have been converted into something. Those aren't rice paddies. Every one of these is a different solar panel. These are solar panel fields, and they're replacing the crops with solar farming. It's amazing how many there are. It really is. And you can do a street level on these, on some of these, I think, to see. I don't know. Let's go see. Might not be. They just built them in the past year or two. Past couple of years. Yeah, here they are grading it out. Yeah, or here is part of it. You can see it, I hope. Just as far as the eye can see, solar panels. The amount of electricity being generated on that is just insane. But that's where our earthquakes go down to. It can't be coincidence. So what about back up into LA now? Let's go look in central LA. Maywood, California. Maywood. What's in Maywood? Probably some nice people. Let's go take a look. There we are. All right, well, what is this? Some kind of manufacturing facility? Huge tanks of some kind there. Is there anything else here nearby? Of course. I have to measure to see how far that is, but those oil wells nearby are a little bit suspect. Is there anything else? They may have even had old oil pumping that was... Oh, wait. Wow. Look at this electrical here. Well, we're right next to one of the biggest electrical locations in LA. We also have a train track here, a set of train tracks. Man. Boy, the number of culprits on this are like fivefold. It's like having 5 criminals, 5 felons that have already been arrested for other things, and they're all standing together at some place that's been broken into. You don't know which one it is. There's 6 miles. 6 miles away is our oil pumping operation. We're a matter of not even a quarter mile away from the power station. To top it all off, we're at several faults. And this is also a spot where we had previous hot spots back in the summer. Let's go up to the north. Uh-oh. North Hollywood. Oh, man. We're going to Hollywood? Really? It's hella weird out there. Hella weird, not Hollywood. Hella weird. Hellywood. Hellywood, helly weird, hella weird. At the airport? Oh, hell no. Oh, no. 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 What else do we have here? Oh, the big power lines for the whole region. It's going to be providing power to the whole area. It goes right through. Look, you can see the clear cut through the city right there. Well, we're at an international airport. I mean, the only thing missing here now is some kind of radar station being right below this spot. Hey, what do we have here? Some kind of little signal building? Oh, we do. We have a tower of some kind. Enough with all this shenanigans. Sometimes you find stuff that you're not supposed to find, guys. Gets you in trouble. So between the two, we're going between 2 suspicious locations in LA, and we go down to a volcano down to the south. The earthquakes connecting between them are equal spaced clusters, but they're not exactly huge stacks. They're just small clusters of quakes. Each one of these spots where there's a cluster of quakes is a previous spot where we had a big fire outbreak. And I mean, we're going right down to the spots where the fires broke out. Next to Oguanga, for instance. This is on the San Jacinto fault, I believe. I almost said Elsinore fault, but I think it's San Jacinto. Let's put the coordinates in. We got new hotspots here, guys. Hold on. Oh, man. What do we got going on out here? Hoop house greenhouses. Uh-oh. 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 Out in the back country with the greenhouses again. Ah, yes. You know, I support the use for medicinal and recreational. Again, it's California, guys. It is what it is. Now, we got a hotspot out here. And, by the way, a troll, quote-unquote, over on Facebook was saying that the hotspots aren't real because of the temperature variation. No, the temperature variation on Google is because of some Google issue with the temperature. And the size of the instantaneous fire size and the temperature. Now, Tattoot went out. It's also detecting regular, too. My buddy Tattoot just uploaded a video a day ago. He went out to another hotspot that appeared a few miles from his house, and there was smoke there. There was a fire. And it had 64,000 as the temperature. So it was legit fire there. Again, it's just something with the Google thing, the way the Google is reporting that. I don't know what the deal is. It's the plugin. Maybe there's a plugin error on the temperature and size. Here's another hotspot up here to the north, and again, Tattoot went out to go inspect, and he found smoke at a few of these. So, out in Florida, that is. In California, we have two hotspots. Both are on the fault. Are there any power lines nearby on the north side? Maybe there are. Maybe there aren't. I don't see any. I see a road there and a few houses. Okay, now, finally, the lines of earthquakes overall match the red lines that I've been showing you for the whole update, which are the plate boundaries. We have interior faults that go over to the east, and on my map here, we have the arrows that point over to the east and let us know which way to expect the force to flow. Texas has been hit. Oklahoma has been hit. Kansas has been hit. Even Georgia next to Pigeon Mountain Ancient Volcano. Those have all been hit with small earthquakes, all in the 2 range. But it's all low. That matches perfectly with the edge of the craton. Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Georgia, Tennessee. Look at the craton diagram, guys, and compare it to the earthquakes. It's a perfect match, and this is just 24 hours time. This is just one day's earthquakes. If I show you the whole week, you'll see it go all the way across the craton, going down through Texas, back up all the way up into Maine and New Brunswick. Do you want to see that? Here, let me show it to you. Last 7-day 0.0 and greater feed, and we're going to look at everything 0.0 and greater, and you'll see it. Hold on. There. Oh, did I say up to New Brunswick? That was technically over 7 days ago. So, it's a rough outline here. Let me get the magnitudes turned off so you can just see the rings. The size rings indicate the size of the earthquake. So the bigger the ring, the bigger the earthquake, going up to 3.0. So the biggest these go over in the United States, up to 3. That's just what hit this past week. But it's a perfect match, again, especially out on the West Coast, going down through Idaho, down through Colorado, down through Texas, and then a big cluster right in the middle all across Oklahoma and Kansas. That's fracking central. Then we go over to the New Madrid seismic zone, and we go up the East Coast. And again, the only thing missing is the 2s and 3 that struck up here right in southeast Quebec from 7 days ago. And then that fully completes the edge of the craton. So it's amazing, right? And over on the West Coast, look at the ring of earthquakes on the West Coast. It matches perfectly with the deformed edge of the craton, the purple part going out to the accretionary belt, or accretionary plane, which is the green part. So the green meets with the purple meets with the rusty tannish color, and that's where our earthquakes spread. Those are the seams that make up our plate, and the seams are where the stresses go. Then there's faults that connect between them, and that's how we get earthquakes spreading across regions. So clearly tension is coming in from the west coast, look at it. And then it spreads over to the edge of the craton, and then it diffuses out across the edge of the craton. Professionals miss this. This is very embarrassing for them. Several top professionals actually said, first, they said it was chance or coincidence that this was happening. Then they went so far as to try to say that I was faking the earthquakes to make it look like there was a spread going across the plates. They actually went that far to deny it. They said I must be a hacker who must just be hacking the feeds to make it look like there's earthquakes going across the plates. Well, here we are 10 years later, using multiple seismic agencies now. And, of course, you can see it for yourself. You can see it for yourself. So how did they miss it? Well, apparently, they were precluded from ever seeing it because they said previously that it couldn't happen. So even if they could have seen it, like look for it and see it, they would have denied it because they had previously said it couldn't happen. And that's what I ran into. First they said it was chance or coincidence, then they denied it and said I was faking it. Now here we are years later and they just try to pretend like it's not happening because it basically refutes everything they ever said. They said there's no relation between earthquakes across huge distances, and there are. It's not that one earthquake causes the other earthquake. We go back to the start of the update. One more time here, hold on. Let's go back to the start of the update. The wave tank. It's not that one earthquake's causing the other earthquake any more than one wave here is causing the other wave. It's that all the waves are caused by a greater inundating force, the compression in the chamber, the walls pressing in and out, if you will, and this tank. That's what's causing the waves to spread through the tank. It's not that one wave's causing the other. This wave isn't causing this wave over here to be the same size. So it's a fundamental misunderstanding I think the professionals had. And now they went out on a limb and tried to deny it and make up all kinds of stuff and go off after me. Not even going to talk about it, but the things they said were asinine. And here we are now. And somebody somewhere is going to have some egg on their face for what they said and did. Now, there have been a few earthquakes since I started my update. Hold on. Since starting the update, a new deep 4.7 happened. Is that right? Hold on, let's just make sure. Maybe that's not accurate. No, that's not accurate. Since starting my update, only a series of small earthquakes have struck. Nothing significant. Oh, hold on. I stand corrected. Hot damn. A 4.7 hit over here right in Turkey, right next to the Aegean Sea. A near 5 just hit. Hold on. 1953 UTC. Yep. 40 minutes ago. 40 minutes ago. There it is. So a new earthquake came rolling in back on the back side of this, which is coming from over here, over to the east. Let's go back a few days. Hold on. There we are. So this is like 6 days ago. The red earthquake was our last push. The pink earthquakes just happened. There's a new middle point now between the 4.7, marked in blue, and the 4.5 back all the way over here at the tip of the arrow. That middle point perfectly comes in down here in South Iran. So it's all taking place right now, guys. In the last hour, there you go. Now, now that a 4.7 is struck here, a new push is technically coming in. Let's get all the smaller earthquakes out of there and just look at it with the 4s and greater. See where all 3 sets of rings overlap now? It's a 4.8 up in Croatia, a 4.7, same sized earthquake, back down in Turkey, and then a 4.3 on the south side down on the plate boundary next to Crete. All 3 sets of rings overlap right here, which is now, where is that, Bulgaria? At the Bulgaria-Romania, Bosnia border region. But again, looking for a 200-mile area, that's right through the whole center of right here. So really, from Croatia back down to where the rings overlap at Albania, I'm still watching, but now it's just a perfect It's like the trifecta of earthquakes right there, perfectly overlapping one another. Okay, wow. Well, that's the way it goes. Sometimes we get a little excitement at the end when we check to see if anything's hit since starting the update. A lot of times that'll happen. I'll start the update, and by the time the update's over, one of the spots that I was talking about in the update gets hit, filled in perfect with the expected earthquake or something very close to it. If anything else happens, I will jump back on at a moment's notice. Do you guys have an earthquake plan? You know, I say it all the time. I haven't said it much lately, actually. In the past couple weeks, I don't think I've said it much at all, which is don't be scared. You need to be prepared. And I mean it. Whether you live in the United States or internationally, I don't care what your politics are. I don't care what your beliefs are. I want you to have an earthquake plan, because what good are your beliefs or your politics or anything if you don't survive an earthquake that you could have known was coming? The arrows are on the map here for a reason. Years of observation letting us know which way the force flows. And now that you know that there's a flow to it, it's more like a river, that you can watch it flow your way. And if you see big, deep earthquakes hammering off on the underside of the plate, you know to expect the waves to spread out, those equal-sized waves to spread out through the tank. And as the equal-sized waves spread through the tank, you get the same-sized earthquakes dropped off along the way. Now that you understand that, and that there's a relation between the spread and the quakes, see, there's something spreading that we can't see. A force or a power or a wave that precedes the earthquakes, that saturates an area with quote-unquote seismic force or seismic pressure, as we call it. So there's an inundating force first that spreads out and fills the plate. Then the earthquakes are dropped equally out across the plate. So it's not one earthquake causing the other. It's that all the quakes are caused by some other force that now we're starting to understand. Probably ultra low frequency or very low frequency. Could be super low frequency, ULF, ELF, SLF, somewhere in that range, ELF. And that's the perfect spacing for thousands of miles, by the way. Anyway, back to the earthquake plan thing. Don't be scared, be prepared. You need to know what to do when an earthquake strikes, which means take shelter. I've said this the whole time. Take shelter underneath a table or a desk. Now, that's not going to support a collapsing structure. So let's say you're in an earthquake. You take shelter underneath a table or desk. The earthquake goes on for a minute or two. It's a big earthquake. And then when the earthquake's over, you might not stay underneath the desk, or the building may not be sufficient for staying in. And it's recommended to have a place pre-designated to go outside. Usually after the earthquake, guys, because running during an earthquake is going to be pretty hard. But USGS says to have a place outside, too, that if you need to evacuate to, that's where you should go. But first things first, drop cover and hold on during the earthquake. That's the most safest thing to do. And you can serve as an example for everybody else that's around you. Because if you go down underneath a desk and drop cover and hold on, and you beckon other people to do the same, they won't run around and scream earthquake. Which, by the way, how many videos are we going to watch where an earthquake's happening and people are screaming and running around? Right? Screaming earthquake, no less. Because most people know that an earthquake is happening at that point. Right? Everybody feels the earthquake. They can all see the walls are shaking. The point of running around screaming earthquake is kind of pointless because everybody already knows. It's not like you have to tell them like there's a fire somewhere. So just remember that. Serve as the good example. And then finally, you need to have an emergency kit. The emergency kit. My God, if there's anything from this past year that you should have learned, which is you need to have an emergency kit and a supply of food and everything else that you need. If you did not learn the lesson this past year, I don't know where the heck you were. But you weren't paying attention, apparently. But you need to have that. Now, the emergency kit is something that you can grab at a moment's notice that has all the basics in it. I'm not talking about long-term food supply carry with you, because that's going to be way too heavy. I'm talking about an emergency kit that has a change of clothes, a set of shoes, If it's cold outside, you're going to want a blanket or some way to stay warm, gloves, hats, socks. You're going to want all that into a bag, along with a flashlight, battery, first aid kit, sanitation, extra set of keys, extra information like your insurance, and maybe even an extra copy of your birth certificate or ID. Maybe put it all onto a flash drive so you don't have to fumble around with all the paperwork. Scan that stuff. Put it into a waterproof flash drive, a few dollars. Put it into your emergency kit. You have all your information right there. It's just an idea. I'm just reminding you, you should do it. Also, medications. If you require medication, you need to have a little extra. I mean, it's just a no-brainer anyway, but put it into the emergency kit. And then the emergency kit, the backpack, bag, whatever you're putting in, make sure it's easily accessible. Don't go pack it into a top shelf of a back closet somewhere where it's going to be hard to get to. You want it to be able to grab it at a moment's notice and be able to hit the road or whatever. Go to your little safe spot outside. If you're going outside, you might not be coming back in for a while. That's why I recommend having seasonal specific items in your bag. What good is all your summer gear in the middle of the winter? And vice versa. The time now is 2:55 p.m. Central Time on the 10th of January 2021. I hope you guys are doing well. Try to keep your nose up, your chin up, stay positive, show love to one another. Man, you want to talk about being a rebel right now? All you got to do is be a little bit kind and loving. Be like me right now. Everybody's going to be like, what the hell's wrong with you? That guy, he's too happy. He's too chipper. Buoys. Oh, yeah, the buoys. Yeah, Oregon coast here. Hold on. I meant to address it, but from what I understand, there's some kind of storm system coming in out there. Hold on. Let me get the weather turned on out here, and I'll show it to you. Of course, it's not. It's too far out in the ocean. There's a new low pressure system coming in from the northwest, which I think is playing into the buoys in event mode out there. Hold on. Let me turn on the National Data Buoy Center. Now, oh, whoa. Now that's a change. Hold on a second now, because we originally just had one. And on the East Coast too? Wait a second. Wait a second. Hold on. Uh-oh. What? What the hell's going on here? Never seen such a thing. Okay. This one looks a little bit better. At least it's not intermittent. What's our event mode? Okay, we're talking about not much of an event mode. It could be oh man, wow, look at that. So we go from 2740.66 meters, basically, down to 27.406. So we lost 0.06 meters. Next to nothing. Like, I'm talking nothing. Why would they even... I don't get it. Hold on, let's look at this one. Okay, this one went from 3272.08 down to 3272.04. It's like the same. Huh. But it's just the most minute shift. Wait a second, that is weird. So everywhere from off the coast of Vancouver Island, down to off the coast of Oregon, down to off the coast of Southwest Oregon, all shifted with just like the smallest little shift. When did this all happen? When is this event mode? Did they all happen at the same time? Okay, it started at 1:10:19 UTC. Is that about right? 1:10:19 UTC. This is a mystery, guys. 1:10:19 UTC for the first event. 1:10:18 to 19 for the second event. Hundreds of miles apart now. And, starting at 1700 for the first one. Wait just a second. So it goes like this, guys. It goes first this one, then this one, then this one. So first the southernmost one, then the middle one, then the northern one. And it starts at 17, 18, 19. 1 hour apart. Across the whole Juan de Fuca fracture zone in the past day. Now, I'm curious about the East Coast, because we hardly ever get buoys in event mode up here off the East Coast of the United States. Look at that. Also intermittent reporting. There's something up with that. Look at that. Have you guys seen these before do this? Where it's just off and on every few minutes, but it's like then dead for the... I've never seen that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Wait, is that a double negative? Okay, no data for the time period. But they have an event mode. And they have it in event mode, but no data, right? This is going up till month, day, hour. Yeah, something's wrong there. I don't understand. So I'm clicking on the event details, and it's got it marked in red for an event mode. You go down to click the event details, and it says no data for the time period. Something's up. Something's up. Something's up, guys. Can't have that. Can't have that on both coasts in the same day and not think something's going on. Now, what could that something be? Yeah, I'm not going to be getting into that. The West Coast, the three in a line across the West Coast, you would think it was related to the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. But all being 1 hour apart like that, almost exactly, I mean, it's not exactly an hour each, but... And then on the East Coast, to have nothing available data-wise, I'm just wondering if there's maybe somebody messing with the buoys. Or maybe, seismically speaking, the United States is starting to shift and we're going to get a huge earthquake. I mean, what are the options? Either the East Coast and the West Coast are both shifting right now, in the same time period, or something else is going on. I would hope something else. Something else could be military, something else could be data outages causing issues or something. That's what you hope for. You hope it's a data outage. You hope it's something weird. But if it's the plate shifting, that's a big deal. So now I have to watch and see what happens with the buoys over the next few days. Thank you for bringing that to my attention because I thought it was just the one. I went and looked. People, when it first started, I went and looked. It was one. And then obviously after that, the other 1, 2, and 3 went off. Oh, wait a second. Hold on. We have to go check and see what time the buoy happened on the East Coast. Oh, wait, we can't. Hold on. Yeah, we can. No, we can't. We can't see what time the date was. It just shows us, it doesn't show us the event mode. It doesn't show us the red line. All right. I'm going to watch. If I find anything else, I will jump back on and let you guys know. This is turning into a little mystery in its own right. That's how it goes in geophysics sometime. Peace out. Word up. Much love.